Thank you very much, Chairperson. Yeah, it was great to be outside South Africa for a while, and dealing with domestic and international matters.
We thought we were going to the White House, but we didn't see you there.
No. I would have put many things into perspective had I been there. Thank you very much, Chair. Once again, VERONICA Mente, member of SCOPA, deployed by Economic Freedom Fighters. I think, Chair, in terms of consequence management and the infrastructure, I think we have gotten the gist of what we're looking for. I'm particularly happy with the response in terms of what's taking place on disciplinary hearings and criminal charges against officials, because, Chair, we've been at this particular department, we've been faced with quite a lot of internal issues and a lot of arrogance, Minister, and I must say that has changed. Hoping that everyone will take their job seriously. And I'm also particularly happy with what the SG said in terms of the payment of service providers, that it's now within 30 days and even less to 20 days, because Department of Water is important for our small business people who tender with the state, and the state is the only source of income for many households and creation of jobs. So Department of Water becomes an integral part of that idea of getting employment to lesser numbers in South Africa. Thank you very much for that. So I wanted to start there so that we don't fight. Now, the first thing, Minister, is that, yes, we understand projects are over a number of years. If they are going to be done correctly, they can't be done in 6 months. Building a dam takes quite a lot of intense work and attention to detail. However, there's still elements within the department, especially where project management is concerned. And I would like you to look deeper into the project management, because as the AG have stated, and some of the projects, you might be happy with where they are today, but if there was much more attention and monitoring in particular had taken care of the space, we wouldn't be where we are. Especially where Mzimvubu, the DG has made reference to Mzimvubu as a famous Mzimvubu project that has never been taking off. And the people of OR Tambo do not have water. Because Mzimvubu Dam, we are not seeing any fruitful outcome when it gets to there. But what I want you to do for us today is to take us through how far are we exactly with Mzimvubu Dam, and when can we see a result? We have received a response on Ulusigisi Dam. Then the second part of that question, Minister, also again on project management. You are building a dam again for the farmers and the communities of Ngocha, Kumango, Mchanyane, that is under Krisani district. But simply because there's lack of project management, that has been delegated to the district, and the mayor just put together some people who imposed themselves as CPA. Non-authorized CPA that doesn't have a certificate are managing your water project in Ngocha, and it's quite a huge project that's resuscitating the dams that were there to assist the farmers and the people so that they can get water. But there are people who call themselves CPA and employing people, sidelining traditional and community leaders, but these people work under the direct instruction of a mayor of the district. So these are the things that just delay your projects and then get all those corrupt elements in place. Then in the next term or in the next AG report, we are going to be told that project is going to find itself and expression in the next annual report. That's why it's not here, because you have started that beautiful project. In the next annual report, we are going to have problems with that. When things were happening, some of the people in your office allow them to happen very wrong. So please also zoom into that one, because we cannot have structures that are not known in communities, not have authority to operate, but use that authority and worse, under the stewardship of a leader who is entrusted with power to assist your department in implementing these projects. The next one, I'm going to disagree with you, Deputy Minister, on the issue of the bucket system. And that is going to be with us, because the bucket system and the pit latrine, they are equally inhumane, especially given the capacity of your regions, where they have to come and clean those trucks that must come and suck. There are no way. And our people now had advanced. They are building their own sewer systems in terms of the septic tanks. But even with that, the department is nowhere in terms of assisting the people to clean those septic tanks in many rural areas. I'm sure the minister knows that. In many rural areas, people now have resorted to building their own septic tanks. But we need to find a way of assisting our people, because the bulk water supply and the sanitation system is not going to finish that. So let's not keep it in our mental state that the bucket system will not go anywhere. There is a system that works for our people in terms of septic tanks, which I don't know why also basic education is not doing it in schools for that sanitation program, because that's the one way which is very much humane to give people flushing toilets. However, we have an issue of not being assisted by cleaning those septic tanks by the department. The other area of this, also of my disagreement, was one project. You said the minister went to intervening in Limpopo, where people were saying the pipe is not going to pass us when we don't have water. They were correct. You are not going to have a pipe passing us till now we don't have water. They were correct. This also had taken place Libode, where the municipality built a sewer in a community where they don't have flushing toilet. And when they rise, then the municipality sends police on the people, which doesn't make sense. How do you not build a bulk system for the people, yet you want to build for a developer which is coming to town a sewer system in their community? That's very much wrong. And these are the things that are taking place in a department. So in terms of monitoring, there is a lack in the monitoring of what is happening. Then the last one, Chair, is the concurrent functions of water and sanitation. Minister, we get that the Constitution in terms of Part B under Schedule 4 and 5, it gives the municipality, but where there is a concurrent function, that's why Parliament exists. Municipalities, as we stand, they get less than 10% of division of revenue. They don't have capacity. That's a reality. Let's leave corruption out for now. But the reality is that they receive less than 10%. They are the ones that take care of the indigents, everyone who resides in rural areas. They are in the indigent register. These are grant recipients, and they must give them water. They will never get a cent out of that. Shame is not going to happen. They will never get a cent because these are grant recipients, which means they are providing a service which is enshrined again in the Constitution under the Bill of Rights, that water is a fundamental service that people, and a basic service that people must receive. So something has to be done, Minister. Taking this function of water reticulation out of municipalities is a necessity and a need now, because they cannot afford to do it. It's impossible. And again, given much delays in terms of the existing projects, like what Madlala was talking about, a tap will have water today, tomorrow it doesn't have water. They don't have money for those maintenance. And it's a reality. So for as long as the division of revenue is not fixed, the National Department must take over the issue of water and sanitation to our people. It's more than 30 years later in the democracy. Some other things, we must change them. Whether we like it or not, they have to change. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Over to you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, Honorable Mente. Thank you very much. Let me start with the last one. Our people deserve better. They deserve to have access to water. And your analysis is very correct that the current funding model for municipalities, it is not assisting at all. However, you are saying something must be done. Fortunately, we are all lawmakers here. Something must be done through the law, because you are talking about their mandate that is enshrined on the Constitution. If we are to amend or to bring certain regulations, I think this committee, as well as other committees, might be able to assist us in terms of that. We really need something done in that area, because it pains us that we have supplied bulk water, but that water is unable to reach our people. It pains us. Unfortunately, we cannot just take over. There must be a law that allows us to take over such a function of municipality. In terms of DWS must assist to clean the septic tanks, that is outside the mandate of DWS once more. That is within the ambit of the local municipality. The local municipalities that you have referred to, that they might be willing to do that, but the capacity level, both personnel and financially, might not be really assisting them.
And politician.
Says a politician.
He should have said, and me.
Those honey suckers, they are in the assets of municipalities. That is why our intervention in terms of assisting municipalities, it goes through the water infrastructure, the WISIC and RIBIC. But beyond that, in terms of the operations, unfortunately, we are unable to assist municipalities, because you will call us for irregular expenditure to say, how did you spend on this? This is not your mandate. So nifuna indlela yokusloba nisibize lapha again. Asizuvuma Hlubi that you call nisifake trepini, asiziye trepini, because we will do something that is very wrong. At times we get taken as if we can just wake up and take over. But unfortunately, this is a constitutional country where you have to restrict yourself. But we share the concern. If we could be able to say, here is the recommendation, maybe out of your meeting, you might come up with a clear recommendation to say, these are the steps that needs to be followed, so that we augment what municipalities are doing within the prescript of the law. We are going to really appreciate that and work with your parliament legal team, our legal team, cabinet legal team, to say, how can we better do this? During the indaba, this was raised, but Salga will say, hey, look at the constitution, that's our mandate. Don't encroach on our mandate. So that is where we are. The issue of Ngocha and the alleged conduct of the mayor of Krisani district, I don't have the full details, but if the committee could allow us to investigate and meet with them and find out exactly what is that they are doing and what informs all those appointments that are done. What is happening on Mzimvubu Ntabelanga Dam? On the 9th of February, I personally went to the site. Remember, this project started years ago. It was conceptualized when me and you, Comrade Mente, were not even born. It is, it's still there. Now, that project costed 18 billion. Our entities went out to the financial markets. They couldn't secure funds because the first question that is asked by financial markets: where is this area? What is the economic activities around this area? How are we going to be assured that our money will be able to come back? They looked at the area, and the area it did not pass the test of time in terms of the financial markets. They couldn't fund it. We had to come back to National Treasury. Then when we came back to the National Treasury, we had to rework on that project. That if you look at the scope of the project in the initial stages, it was also including the water treatment plants, the reservoirs, because it cuts across three districts, Uchokabi, Alfred Nzo, as well as OR Tambo. In those three municipalities, there are water treatment plants, there are reservoirs. So there was no need for one to create a new or establish a new water treatment plant instead of augmenting and expanding the capacity of the existing. So we had to cut all those frills to an extent where we were left with 8.9 billion that we needed. Then the National Treasury has now funded that project. What is happening on the ground? We started with the road works, where road construction to allow our machinery and all our equipment to go to the site. That was done, but unfortunately, there is not a lot of water drainage system because that road goes between mountains. When the summer rains were heavy, the entire road was washed away. On the site, we have established the site. We have all the machinery on the site, all our trucks, big trucks, our excavating equipment, all is on the site as I speak. We've established the site. We've already pegged the area where excavation is supposed to happen between two mountains. But there is a steering committee that is led by the traditional leadership. But as we were ready to proceed with the project, then there were protests. The protests in that area, they will come from Tsolo or the other side of Kumbu or the other side, and the steering committee has been handling this. The provincial government has been coming into because of what Honorable Mashobo said earlier on, where people demand 30% when they've not even done work. Now, the new demand with the recent protests of February after I visited the site was that take away this yellow fleet that is on this site. We don't want this yellow fleet. We want you to hire from us. These are our own yellow fleet as a department. We have not hired them. They are our own. We own those. They said, no, we don't want anything here. Take it away and issue a tender. And there must be 100% local in this. And how they define local, people of Tsolo, they define local as Tsolo. Not as Eastern Cape 3 areas. Yeah, they and Tsolo is part of the Tsolo and the other area of Jokabi Matlia. Just saying no, 100% maybe Ngualapa. When you say it, but this is the Eastern Cape. And in procurement, there's a particular percentage local, but we have to go beyond that. They don't want, then they close the project. So some of the delays are caused by our communities, but I must say the traditional leadership is hands-on there, and we are at the stage where we're going to start excavation and divert the river. Because if we don't divert that river, it would be difficult for us to work. We're working on Itina River so that immediately when we start excavation, we're going to divert that river to go behind the mountain. So we were on track 2 weeks ago. The Premier and the MEC for local government, as well as the three mayors, they went to the area. So we are redoing that those road works to ensure that people work. Then there were people who were laid off at the time then when there were heavy rains, and those are local. But those, they don't want to go through the roster where if you have been given a chance for 6 months, then you must allow others to come in. They don't want to do that. So in the main, some of the challenges and the delays are within the communities, but we have a good social facilitator that is engaging them. So if all goes well, we are going to finish that project, and we received a commitment from all the municipalities except those little issues that get raised by our community, which we are not turning a blind eye on them. We really want to see that them done. Why is it now in Tabelanga? Is because we had to reduce and the big scope of that project, not reducing the capacity of water that is supposed to be supplied, but the how part of doing that project. Thank you.
Chair, just to conclude here, Honorable Hlubi, the issue of sanitation, our policy is that people have a right to use decent sanitation technologies. In areas where there is no water, there are new developments. Our Water Research Commission, working with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and with our universities, they've done so well, where they use less water in the current system. Even in certain schools, we've done a lot of projects. And then there's that other one where people are using the SWAT system where there is flushing. The issues around the septic tanks, in areas where septic tanks are there, we don't want to say they must not be used, but they must meet certain standards in terms of design so that they don't contaminate the groundwater. You know, in many villages, many people are actually even having boreholes now. And some of these boreholes, abalandeli standard operating procedure. You find that some of these homesteads in the past, they had a VIP toilet, something called, you know, that VIP toilet, then it had an impact on the quality, the geological formation of the soil. Sometimes the human excreta just diffuse into the groundwater. And some of the water that will come through people's boreholes, which is groundwater use, you can see them clear, but one day there's going to be an outbreak of diseases. That's a risk. Some of these septic tanks, Chairperson, they're not properly designed. They're not properly designed. Then there's an issue of operation and maintenance. If you do that system, at a particular point, it's going to fill up. Whoever is the owner of a septic tank has a responsibility to manage the septic tank. Then the other issue, if you do, where will you actually dispose the human excreta you have? Some of them, they are not. I know in Mangaung, as an example, they go and dispose, even in Roy Valley in Pretoria, they go and dispose it in the sewer plant. Then they choke the plant because of the volume that is there. And then it causes problems. There are environmental issues, there are health issues, and many other issues that are there. But I'm pleased that in as much as it is not our asset, the two ministers they discussed, the DGs at a particular point in Botshabelo in Free State, those toilets were full to the brim. It was worse when it was raining. I know the Department of Human Settlement had to support them through the informal upgrade grant that is there to do some of the work. But sanitation in South Africa remains an issue. That's why we're even not at the right levels that were there. But when we say the buckets will not run out, as long as you continue to place people either in township without planned settlement, whether also in traditional and rural areas, people are placed without planning properly, I can assure you, we are planning to fail. But in our infrastructure was simple. Nobody must be left behind. You know, this department was known. I was a little bit young at that time. You will have the best dam around communities. They don't even get a drop of water. And it was meant for either, that's why all the water to be pumped from Mpumalanga was Natal for Gauteng for gold. But for the first time, we say these dams, they must be able to help communities around. People of Free State, when they ran out of water, we gave them water from Sterkfontein. The people that you see now in Kiane, the people there in Vembe, they're getting water from Nandoni. This is the new way on how we should be planning. Our attitude, nobody must be left behind. And if you do that, it's a security risk, because if they have nothing, they will intervene and have access to the resource they need. The same thing they did in Nigeria in Delta. In Delta, those pipelines for oil and refineries, they go through many communities, and they have caused themselves security risk. The security risk has actually escalated even into mafias. That's how, from a policy position, we're dealing with these historical issues around planning, around decisiveness, and including issues of monitoring. Thanks, Chair.